whispers of light and water. In a quiet corner of the world, where moonlight kissed the forest and silence spoke louder than words, there lived two souls who understood what most men had forgotten, that the unseen still speaks, if only you listen. Welcome to the hidden voice where stories speak louder faces. This is their story. The man who spoke to shadows, and the woman who made a river remember its name. The man who spoke to shadows. They called him Okechukwu, a man both feared and pitied. He lived alone by the riverbank, speaking to the dark as though it were his oldest friend. Children ran from him, women crossed the path when he passed. They said his mind was lost, but his heart was open. Every dusk, when the last birds fell silent, Okechukwu sat by the water's edge and whispered. No one knew what he said, but the shadows always answered. One night the village was thrown into chaos. A child had gone missing, the chief's only daughter. Men searched with torches, women prayed, the forest echoed with desperate voices. But Okechukwu sat quietly by the river, as if he already knew where to look. He whispered once more, "Show me what you've seen." The wind shifted. The shadows around him began to move, stretching across the ground like living ink. They pointed toward the forest, deeper and deeper until they stopped beneath the old Iroko tree. Okechukwu followed. There, beneath the ancient tree, the child sat, unharmed, calm, staring at the stars. When he asked how she found her way, she said, "A voice told me to stay here until help came." The villagers rejoiced, and for the first time, they bowed to Okechukwu, the madman who listened to shadows. From that night, he was no longer feared. He was the keeper of silence, the bridge between light and dark, between what was seen and what was never meant to be seen. But Okechukwu's story was only half the whisper. For far beyond his village, across mountains and plains, another voice was listening, a young woman by another river, the river that forgot its name. Her name was Amara. Her laughter once carried through her village like birds at dawn, until the day her mother fell ill. Healers came, doctors prayed, nothing worked. Her mother's body weakened, and Amara's joy, like the river she loved, began to dry. Then one evening, as the sky bled orange and red, a wanderer appeared at her door. He was old, quiet, and his eyes held both kindness and sorrow. He gave her a calabash filled with water. "Your mother's cure," he said, "lies in remembrance. Take this water to the river that forgot its name, and ask it to remember." Amara hesitated. But when love stands at the edge of loss, you no longer need proof, only faith. She journeyed for days, through villages and forests, through rain that fell like whispers from the sky. And in her dreams a voice spoke, "Do not fear the silence, it remembers you." Finally, she reached the river, still, black, lifeless. She knelt and spoke softly. "River, they say you've forgotten who you are, but I have not forgotten my name, and I will not leave until you remember yours." The water stirred. Then a deep, ancient voice rose from beneath the surface. "I was once called Ekeoma, the river that blessed the living and calmed the dead. But when men stopped believing, I stopped flowing." Amara bowed her head. "Then flow again," she whispered, "for my mother's life depends on it." The river began to move, gently at first, then stronger, silver waves glowing under the moon. The calabash in her hand grew warm, and Amara felt the pulse of something holy, a forgotten faith awakening. When she returned home, her mother was sitting upright, smiling. The sickness had gone. The villagers never believed her story. But the next morning, they saw the river flowing once more, its water clear as crystal. Those who drank from it said they felt peace, as if the water itself whispered forgiveness. Years later, when Amara grew old, she returned to the river and spoke softly, "I kept your name alive." And the river replied, "And I kept your story eternal." Two souls, one who spoke to the darkness, one who spoke to the light. Both reminded us that silence has a voice, and faith, when whispered, still echoes across time. If these stories touched your heart tonight, share them with someone who listens deeply. Follow the hidden voice, where stories speak louder than faces, and every whisper holds a truth.